Hey, this is Mikey with another After Effects tutorial, and in this video I'm going to show you how to do some tracking and some cool kind of expression things to do some counting with this stock footage I have. Now before I get into the tutorial, let me show you the site where I got this stock footage. It's actually a new site. It's called dissolve.com, and there's a link in the description and it'll take you right to that site. Now, what I really like about this site is it doesn't look like typical stock footage sites. You go to some of these other sites and it seems like all of the footage is the same, and this has some really high quality stuff, almost very film-like footage. And let's just take a quick browse through some of the stuff they have here. You know, they got some cool time lapses, and the really great thing about this is most stock sites, the way they price it is 1080p, 720p standard definition. The lower the resolution, the cheaper it is, and the higher the resolution, the more expensive it is. But with this site, they base the price of these clips based on the quality of the clip, not on the resolution. So if you find a clip you like, it doesn't matter what resolution you download, it's going to be the same price if it's the high or the low. And some of these clips go up to 4K, so that's pretty incredible. So that's dissolve.com. Check out the link in the description. So here I have, this is the clip I got. You saw it in the beginning. And so let me show you what I did to kind of create that tracking. So first, I have it into a new composition. And let's track this. So bring up your tracker. And I have mine already down here in the window. And if you don't have that, just go up to Window and turn on Tracker. And then I want to track motion. I'm not going to track camera, not warp, stabilizer, not stabilize motion, but I want to track motion. And this is going to bring up my tracking point. Now with this shot, she's kind of moving around everywhere, and so I want to find a pretty steady, pretty stable shot that's got some high contrast. I don't want to do the eyes because her head's moving up and down. So probably the best shot for me is going to be right there. And when you're tracking, the center point, that's the point at which it applies the track. This inner box is what it's looking for. So I want, a shape that looks like this. And this outer box is where it's looking. So with this shot, she's jumping up and down. So I don't need to have my bounding box really wide because she's not moving from left to right. She's moving up and down. So I want the bounding box to be more up and down. That's just going to make it so it's easier to track because I don't have to search as much, because right now when I'm tracking, After Effects is searching through all of these pixels in this outer bounding box looking for this square. And so if it's really big, it's going to take a long time to search through those pixels. If it's really small though, she might move too far and this whole square might be now outside of this bounding box, and then I have a broken track. So I want to have it big enough, but not too big. And about right there is looking pretty good. So let's just click this Analyze Forward button, and we'll watch the track. And it seems to be doing really good. And let's just continue on. We're almost done. Oh, yep, there's a little bit of crazy stuff going on at the end. So this is where I need to kind of come in by hand and fix this, and it's not hard to do. So I'm just going to back up, so right here, and then I'm going to just hit forward on the it's page down on the keyboard will navigate you forward on the timeline, and then you can see right there that moved. So I'm just going to take that point and just move it back to where it was. And then let's analyze forward. Okay. So that's the track. Let's take a look at it, make sure everything looks good. And everything's looking pretty darn good. So now what I want to do is let's go to Layer, New, and let's grab a new null object. And then I'm going to make sure that my target is set to null 4. Click OK. And we're going to apply this tracking data to that null. And it says apply X and Y dimensions. Let's click OK. Now, as we can watch, this null is now pinned to her shoulder right where I did that track. And we don't need to actually, have this null there. We're just going to borrow it for the tracking data. So I'm going to just call this bounce. And we can go ahead and shut that off. Now back in this, I'm going to go in and delete this tracker as well. Just because I don't need it there anymore. So now that we have the null object that's bouncing up and down, let's create some of the elements that we saw in the example. First off, let's create this box. And it's a rounded rectangle that I did, and I clicked and drag, and I'm still clicking. I haven't let go yet. And if I click up and down on the keyboards, I can change. You can see now there's more curve in the corner, and I click down and it gets rid of the rounded corners. I hold down up and it adds rounded corners. So that's how you use that if you've ever wondered how to make the corners more or less round. And about right there, looks about right. I kind of want this rectangle maybe to have a little bit thinner of a stroke. Right now it's set on 5. Let's try 3 points. And that looks better. Now let's put some text in there. And with the text, I want it to be counting the jumps. So I need to know how many jumps that she does in order so I know what to have the thing start at, because I want it to end at a number. And let's have it end at 99. She almost got to 100. Decided she got a little bit tired, so she ended at 99. So let's count the jumps. 1, 2, 3, 16, 17. 17 jumps. So if I want it to end at 99, let's have it start at 82. So let's come in here. 82. And let's get that in there looking nice. Okay, so that's the first part. And then the next part is going to be kind of the boring part. So I'm probably going to fast forward it while I do this. But what I'm going to do is, I guess I could set up some sort of thing that automatically counts and things like that. But honestly, with just this short clip, the easiest way to do this is to go into the source text, and we're going to keyframe the source text. So keyframe at the beginning, move forward right where she lands, change that to an 83. Lands again, 84, and then so on. Okay, so I've got all of the jumps in and it's counting, and you can see that it counts up as she bounces. And so that's really probably the easiest way to do this, is just a little bit of elbow grease and do it by hand. So now that we have the text in there, let's go ahead and just parent that text to the shape layer. Okay, so next what I want to do is let's turn this bounce null back on just so we can kind of see it moving. And I want to create another null. So let's go to Layer, New, Null Object. And let's call this one Small Bounce. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this to about right there. And I want to bring up the position on that one and the position on the main bounce. And I'm going to do a quick little expression, because I want this bounce to kind of react to this one, but it's not as big and also a little delayed. So I'm going to option click on the stopwatch, and then we're going to pick whip from here to position. And then we're going to hit dot, come over to this little triangle, go down to property, value at time. And then in wherever it says t, we're going to replace that with time minus 0.1. Put a parentheses at the end, or a semicolon, I mean. And then at the beginning, let's add this to a variable. So let's put POS for position, not something else, and name that as the variable. And then let's go down and put as the position, let's pick whip that position, hit plus POS, and semicolon. Now what we can see is this is now way over here. That's because it added the position to that one, and it made it jump way over there. But actually, I want this to be not as violent as a movement, not as much of a movement. So I'm going to take this variable, and I'm going to put divided by 4. And now you can see it's moving, but not quite as much, and it's also delayed. Now, where I did this, where I added the original position in it at the end in this expression, what that means is I can come in here now, and I can just move this to wherever I want, and everything's going to still move around the same. So now let's add the connecting line. And what I did for this was, let's go to Layer, a new solid. Just a white solid will do fine. Let's go to Effect, Generate, Beam. And let's go in, let's take the color of this, let's make it black for both the inside and the outside. Take the length to 100%. And then let's take the starting thickness, 3 and 3. And then from here, we need to jump down into the timeline. And let's open up these two, the position on both of these null objects. Then let's go to the white solid, go to the effect, into beam, and then the starting point, I'm going to pick whip this, so option click on the stopwatch, take that, and this one will be the position of the main bounce, and then the ending point will be the position of the small bounce. And what I want to do now is let's move this back here underneath the all the layers except for this bottom layer. And what I can do is I can go back into this small bounce, and let's actually move this to about right there. And that's looking pretty good. Next, I want to take this shape layer. Remember, I already have the text layer parented to it. And let's open up that position. Option click. Let's do the same thing and connect it to the small bounce. But when that happens, it moves way out of the way. And so then I'm going to take this, open up my anchor point, and I can just move my anchor point until it's right where I want it. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. The one thing, though, is this line is right in front of her. And so let's go back into this bounce. And when I can move all these keyframes at once. There's lots of keyframes, as you can see. So I'm going to just highlight just the position right here, and it highlights all of them. And then I can move this to, I want to move this right up to here where her head is. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this layer, the stock layer, duplicate it. Let's bring that up to the top, or at least over this white solid that has the beam on it. And then let's do a quick extract. So effect, keying, extract, and then we can just pull out the white. And then she's right now in front. So let's now go in and let's turn off these two null objects, and let's check it out. So kind of a really cool look. It's attaching to her, and this is reacting differently. It's still reacting, but it's almost like a secondary animation. Well, this moves, which causes that to move. So I kind of actually want to maybe come in here. Let's take this white solid, give it a name. So we'll call that line. And let's take this maybe down to 2. Let's try 1.5. It's a little bit too thick. Okay. Now let's come into the shape layer. Into the rectangle. And let's go to the fill. And let's change the color down just slightly gray. And then we can come into Effect, Generate, CC Light Sweep. Set that to about 85 degrees. And there we go. That's pretty good. And it's got a nice kind of a sheen to it. And as you see, it moves up and down with the bouncing. Now to make this more interesting, let's add a grid to this. So Layer, New, Solid. And let's make this the same width and height. I want this to be a square solid. So let's go 2000 by 2000. Let's go to Effect, Generate, Grid. Let's change this to black. Now I want to take this and I want to pre-compose this. So Command-Shift-C is the hotkey to bring that up, or Control-Shift-C if you're on Windows. And I want to move all attributes. Let's call this Grid. And let's take this, let's move it down to just above this top layer. And let's now turn it 3D. Let's orient that. Scale it up. Move it back. And let's maybe move it so she's not right on a line. Okay. Now what I also want to do is, the reason why I pre-compose this is so we can make it go blurry, kind of like it's going out of focus, and we can also I can come into this and let's add a mask to it. And let's feather that mask. So it kind of goes off into the distance. Now maybe this grid lines are a little bit too thick, so I can come into this pre-comp. Let's go in here, let's bring that down to 2. Go back into our main composition, and I just want kind of a hint of of a grid there. I might need to come into this mask and expand it out on the sides. That's pretty cool looking. Now let's see what this looks like at the very end where she lands. Make sure that things are good, and things are actually pretty darn good. So, before I finish, let's add just a quick vignette to this. Easiest way to do that is to add a new adjustment layer. Come up to this mask tool, set it to ellipse mask, make sure the adjustment layer is selected. Double click, that brings up the ellipse. And let's go in and invert that. Then go to your effects, color correction, exposure. And let's bring down the exposure. Go back into the mask settings down here, and let's increase the feather. And we can also change the expansion. And then there we have our finished look. So I think this is a pretty cool, kind of a cool look. You've seen this lots before, where they have little, almost like heads-up displays that are counting values and doing things on live footage. And this is a way you can do something like that. So if you have any questions, just put them down in the comments below and I can help you out. If you'd like to check out this website that I got the stock footage from, again, it's dissolve.com. You can just click on the link down in the description and it'll take you right there. So this is Mikey with another After Effects tutorial. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.